Hi everyone, it's me Darlene. I am back finally with another quilting video. We are going to be making a big quilt top today. I make just the top. You can take the top that you make and finish it into a quilt whatever way you like. If you don't know how to do that, there are plenty of tutorials out there on YouTube that you can watch. I don't actually like to make quilts. I don't like the whole quilting process. I like the piecing, so that's what I show you. This is going to be good for a twin size bed, probably a little bit, with some overhang. And I have no clue. I came up with this today. Took me way too long to come up with this. I'm so out of the swing of it. What you need are 16 fat quarters. I have 16 different prints. We are going to be cutting and turning some of the fabric, so I don't know how it would work. If you had some duplicate prints, they might end up touching each other, and I don't know. So I'm going with 16 different prints. I do have them kind of, sort of, how I want them grouped. I have this group here that has like pinky kind of things. This group, I'm using what I have on hand. I did not go and pick out this fabric. And then I have this group and this group. Like this. We will be making four patch blocks. Then we will be turning those into hidden 4-patch blocks by cutting into them and turning and putting them back together. After that, we are going to take our 4 hidden 4-patch blocks, sew those together, and we will be done. So let's just get started. I am going to put together my first 4-patch, and I think I'm going to be able to get 21 inches in this direction. These are my salvages here. I lined up all 4 of the fabrics that I'm using, and I pressed them together because it's easier that way. And I'm not thrilled with rotary cutters. I'm a scissor kind of girl, and I'm just going to trim this edge. Now I'm going to actually turn my mat, and I'm going to put my fabric on the 21-inch line right there. And it goes off a little bit, but I'll just be careful. Now, am I going to get all the salvage? I'm not. So, you know what? We're going to go to 20.5. I should be able to get that out of all the pieces. That looks like it's going to take care of all the salvages. Now in the other direction, we only need maybe 15 or 16 inches, so there will be a little bit of scrap. Okay, let me turn this again so I have the long side of my mat. So I'm just going to trim this edge. And let me just turn this whole thing this way. I'm going to go to the 16-inch line. So it's 20 or 20.5. If you can only get 20, that's fine. 16 in the other direction. I'd rather have it be too big than not. And these are some prime pieces here for crumb quilting. Do not throw those out, or even to make a scrappy strip quilt or just a scrappy quilt, anything you want. I am going to be putting together my first 4-patch. I have these laid out the way you would be looking at them. You want your pieces to be long this way, and this is the width. So long, long. You're going to end up with actual like big 4-patch rectangles, not squares. And don't worry about things being matchy-matchy, because things are going to be cut and turned, and then we have to trim the final hidden 4-patch blocks at the end. So I'm just going to sew this one to this one, this one to this one. I have these 2 pieces together and these 2 together. Now I'm just going to sew the whole thing together, and I'm just going to match up at that intersection. And you know me, I'm not fussy about stuff like that. And I don't care which way you press your seams. I'm not into that whole nesting thing. It's not that important. I can put a pin right there if I want. Another thing you can always do is you can start at this point and sew in this direction, then turn around, start at this point and sew in that direction. But I'm just going to put a pin here. I will sew those together, and then I will show you what I have. And this is what I have. I know you can't see the whole thing. This is gonna make a pretty big quilt top. But I will show you pictures of it at the end on a bed. And I did want to mention, as for seam allowance, 1/4 inch around there. Doesn't really matter what you use, just try to use the same thing throughout. I always just use the edge of my foot as my guide. Now I'm going to do this 3 more times with my other sets of blocks, and then I will show you the next step. It is actually the next day. I was running out of steam yesterday and also out of light. This is what I have so far. I have my 4 big 4 patches. We're going to be changing those a little bit. This quilt top is actually going to be way too wide for a twin unless you like a lot of overhang, which is always cool, but it might be better for a full, I don't know, maybe a double. I will be measuring it when we're all done because this is even overlapped right here. I just wanted to use as much of the fat quarters as possible. You can always change the size of these pieces to suit your needs. But right now, let's go back to the table and finish this up. Here is one of my 4-patch blocks. And I think when I was editing, I think I was saying that we were gonna change this into a hidden 4-patch. Was I using the word hidden? I seem to remember thinking, that's not what it's called. So I probably was. I won't know until I run through the video again. However, we're going to turn this into a disappearing 4-patch. Disappearing is the word I want. I have this set up going the long way. And what we're going to do is make 2 cuts, one on each side of this seam. And we're just going to turn that piece and put it back together. So since I'm cutting this way, I need to turn the block this way for my sake. And I'm just going to fold it and make sure that my seam is lined up as good as possible. Feels good, looks good. And I just need to decide how wide we're making that strip. Hang on. I've decided that I'm going to cut the strip 8 inches wide. So I'm putting the seam on the 4-inch line, and then I will cut here along the edge of my mat. So that'll give me about 4 1/4 actually. You are free to use a rotary cutter. I'm just not a fan of them, and just gonna cut. I do use a rotary cutter, you know, now and then, but my ruler isn't long enough for this, so I'm good this way. Just going to move that aside. I'm going to just turn this. And once again, I will put my seam line on the 4-inch line. Make sure that's where I am. 4 inch, right there. And I'm going to cut. And now I have these facing you again, the long way going this way. I don't know if I had it this way, but this is the way I want it. And we're going to take the strip that we just cut. Obviously, this is what we had. We're just going to turn it. And we're going to sew it back in. Now we'll be doing this to all 4 of the big 4 patches to create 4 disappearing 4 patches. And if you wanted to, you could do all the cutting first and then maybe swap out. Hang on. I was saying you could take this strip and swap it out to another patch. I did that a little bit online just with some colored blocks, and I found that, I mean, you can do anything. Everything looks cool. But I found that doing it this way, it kind of left the color of the block the same. And the other way, it just looked like, you know, just a very scrappy quilt. And I don't know, I'm just going with it this way. You do whatever you want. So now I'm just going to sew this to this, and then this to this, and I'll be back. And this is what I have. You know, this alone makes an awesome quilt top for a child. Let me tell you what this measures. We have 30 wide by 40 and a half tall. So if you want to make a bunch of quilts like this, you can. This size, it's very easy to do the, I call it the pillowcase method. I'm sure there's a better term, but where you put the batting and 2 pieces together, right sides together, and you sew around, you leave a space to turn, and then you can just sew around the edges, do some machine quilting if you want, or just some hand tying. I will look for the video down below that shows you that method of mine. And if you want to finish things other ways, then you can look on YouTube for other videos. But now I'm going to do this to my other 3 blocks. This is a disappearing 4-patch now. See, it's pretty cool. All right, I'll be right back. I have my 4 disappearing 4-patch blocks done. You can't see, I mean, they're all overlapping each other, but I have them positioned the way I want, and I am just going to sew those together like one giant 4-patch. I just want to show you that if you put just 2 of the disappearing 4-patch blocks together, it goes this way. This is the length. I'm going to tell you the measurements of that, because that also looks like a nice size quilt. That's about 59 tall by about 41 wide. But I'm going to go ahead and put everything together. And here it is. I am so excited about this quilt top because this was very quick and easy to do. And I did it in just over 2 hours. I don't know if I'm going to call it a 2-hour quilt top or 3. I'm thinking of going with 2 because that also included some of the recording that I did today and the stopping and starting, so it's really fast. And the great news is the way I made it with the size blocks I used, it would actually fit the top of a queen size bed. The size came out to about 60 wide by 80, 81 long, maybe 59 or 60 wide. And that's the exact size of a queen size bed for a top, but it would fit any smaller bed with some overhang. This is a twin size bed. And what I like is the narrower strips are kind of like the border, and on this side too. And then I'll just try to show you this side. You can see it hangs equally on both sides. I just love it. Very simple. Now, and again, you can finish this off any way you want. I just don't like doing the steps after this. This is where I like to stop, and then this will end up on eBay. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe because I'm back in a sewing mood, so be prepared for more videos soon. Bye!